All right, guys, happy Tuesday, happy election day. I hope you are wearing all red like I'm wearing all red. The question of the day today is, what do I really think about Kanye West, known as Ye, and the Jewish community? I feel like it has come to a point now where my silence is creating some violence in the air. So I want to answer and I want to respond thoroughly. Plus, dabbling in virtual reality can now kill you. The founder of Oculus, better known now as a part of Facebook's Meta, created a VR headset that will actually kill the user if they die in the game. All that and more today, coming up on Candace Owens. All right, guys, where to begin? I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I think that the best place to begin is with a thank you from my heart. Yesterday, obviously, I did a monologue and I covered the Kyrie Irving situation. And there was a little trepidation in giving my opinion about the situation because there's a lot of tension in the air right now between the Jewish community and the Black community, obviously. And I felt that by defending Kyrie Irving, which I felt was the right thing to do, some people would say, oh, there she goes again. There she goes again, defending Black people and saying nothing about the Jewish community, saying nothing about people that are now sharing anti-Semitic remarks. And I was overwhelmed and thankful for the response to that monologue. I mean, I looked through the comments and there was this outpouring of love and understanding. And I think that outloving of love and understanding came perhaps because I did something yesterday that I rarely do. I shared my heart, you know? I'm never a person that says to you guys, as a Black person this, or as a Black woman this. But I did feel yesterday that I needed to come to you as a Black person in this society. And I was hopeful that you would understand why I was touched by Kyrie Irving's remarks when he asked the press, where were you when I was growing up? I shared with you how it's a weird thing to be a Black person in society and not really know where you come from. I felt his pain, and I think that you guys heard my pain and you responded to it accordingly. Now, obviously, there's another subject that is getting snowballed into the Kyrie Irving situation. In fact, I think this subject is part of the reason that the media has been so harsh, despite, in my opinion, Kyrie Irving really committing no crimes that are worthy of that harshness, worthy of that treatment, worthy of the words, by the way, that the Brooklyn Nets shared regarding him. He's unfit to be associated with. That is so dark and so twisted and so hurtful when all he did was share a link and then immediately offer apologies for what he deemed to be falsehoods within the documentary. But the subject that a lot of us have been avoiding is regarding Kanye West. And when I say a lot of us, I mean especially me. Ye is my friend. I have been very, very clear about that. Ye is still my friend, and I don't really like to talk about things and people that are personal to me. I do, I guess, politics and culture. A lot of times I sit back and I wonder why I have the platform that I have. It's a weird thing to sort of look through the lens of your life and to say, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? All I've done, as far as I'm concerned, is I've stood up and I've said the truth a lot of times. And I think because we now live in these times of tremendous deceit, that seems to a lot of people like a heroic act. A lot of people depend on me and count on me to continue to tell the truth and to not, quote unquote, sell out. I know what that means. I know that there has been a lot of pressure on me, people saying, Candace, don't sell out to the Daily Wire, because I'm with them. Candace, don't sell out to PragerU when I was with them. People have this fear that the more success that people have, they kind of have to say, okay, I need to stay within a certain boundary and a certain line to maintain that success. Essentially, a lot of people trade their souls for money. That is true. I'm simply not one of those people. There is no amount of money that is high enough that I would say something that I do not mean. There's nobody that can make me perform, and I want to make that clear to everybody. And I thought that I was making that clear when I remained silent regarding Ye, who is my actual friend behind the scenes. But I'm going to do something rare today, and I'm going to share with you some personal conversations that I've had, not just with Ye, but with other people that are friends of mine behind the scenes. With all of this going on, and with Adidas pulling out and saying we want nothing to do with Ye, and Gap pulling out and saying we want nothing to do with him, and the entire world condemning him. A lot of people wonder what he is thinking. What is Ye thinking? How does he respond to losing $2 billion, as it was estimated, in one day, right? After a week of tweeting and saying things, everyone wants nothing to do with him. How do you think he's feeling about that? A lot of you guys might be thinking that he feels very sad about that. I'm only going to tell you what he said to me last week, because I was feeling sad about it in a way, right? I was feeling sad about it because it's difficult for me to communicate to everybody what Ye means to Black America. It's difficult for me to communicate what he as an artist meant for me. His entire life, he has made it possible for Black Americans to know that the world can be ours, right? He let us know that it was possible to do the impossible. Before I ever knew him, I shared my heart about him being my favorite artist because his music let me know, as a girl that came from nothing, that I could break the barriers, that I did not have to just be a victim, that I didn't have to care what the media thought about me. I actually felt empowered by his song Power. And so in that regard, he has ranked up a lot of credit in the Black community. So when we are asked to debit him because of his recent actions, it's not easy for us to do that, because he's meant so much to us in our households and in our personal spaces. Now, as a friend, to see what's happening to him, as I said, has been tremendously hurtful. And I called him and I spoke to him weeks ago and expected that he would understand and also be feeling hurtful as well. But instead, he said to me, after all of the cancellations, his first sentence to me was, "Now I'm finally free." It almost made me cry. Right? It almost made me cry because I realized that I was so worried for him, and I have felt so scared and so worried for him. And yet for Ye, in this really bizarre way, he intentionally blew himself up because he has felt so pressured within the Hollywood world to be somebody that he's not. He has shared since then that what started all of this was text messages from one Jewish person, Harley Pasternak. It's important to say one Jewish person, not the Jewish community, not all Jewish individuals, not the entire Jewish world, right? A text message from a guy basically saying that he would put Ye back in the hospital again if he wanted to, and that he would never see his kids again. So he was feeling hurt, and he hurt people. He hurt a lot of people. And he owned that. Ye himself said on Piers Morgan that his remarks were anti-Semitic and they were racist. And then he apologized for those remarks and said that hurt people hurt people. And so I was a bit confused why, despite him having said that and despite him taking ownership over his own words, people were still coming to me and asking me to say something bad about him in public. I just didn't want to take that bait because this is actually my friend, right? But I realized that a lot of people come to me because they see me as a leader. And I guess in that regard, they hold me in a higher view than I hold myself. Again, I'm just somebody who is saying the truth and calling things as I see it. And what I've realized is that while I have been a very strong and vocal friend of Ye, and I'm going to continue to be that, I haven't yet been a vocal friend to some people that have been tremendous friends to me. Just one example is Dennis Prager. You guys know I worked for Prager University for 2 years, and I want to tell you about that relationship. At Prager University, if we ever had anything that we need to discuss, if I ever went to Marissa Straight, who is Jewish, and she is the CEO, and I said, I think I should make more money for this. They just would say, here, we never want this relationship to be about money. Here, we just want you to take whatever you want. We never want to have to go back to the contract. I mean, I've said this publicly before, and I will say it again. The most productive working relationship that I've ever had in my entire conservative career was with Prager University. Dennis Prager is a wonderful human being. Marissa Straight is a wonderful human being. They are wonderful people who happen to be Jewish, right? And Dennis Prager, when I called him, and he wanted to discuss the situation with Ye, I didn't even let him get a word in. I just yelled at him. I was very harsh. I'll tell you what I said to him. I said, I'm not playing this game with the Jewish community again. because people were starting to say, well, if Candace doesn't condemn Ye, then she too is anti-Semitic. It means that she's also anti-Semitic by association. I said, I'm not playing this game with you guys again, is what I said to him. I said, you've wrongly smeared me and libeled me as anti-Semitic in the past. You were there for that, Dennis. You were one of the lone voices that stood up for me when BuzzFeed intentionally pulled out a clip of me to make it sound like I was defending Adolf Hitler. And I said, despite that, I was gracious and I was understanding, and I made amends with people to help them understand what that conversation was actually about. I said, but the second time you guys are going to come at me with smears of anti-Semitism, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not playing the game with you guys. And do you want to know what Dennis did? Dennis did not push back at all. He said he understood, and he published an article in my defense. So essentially what Dennis did was he heard how I felt hurt by the Jewish community and how I was feeling hurt again by the Jewish community. And rather than argue with me on it, or rather than say, well, Candace, no, it could kind of be seen as he heard my hurt and he published an article in my defense. It was incredible. It was an incredible act of friendship. I want to be remembered not just as a formidable enemy to the left. I am that, of course. I do not just want to be remembered as a formidable enemy to any institution that seeks to harm my children. I am that, of course. I also, and I think this is the most important thing that I want to be remembered as, is a formidable friend, because I am that. I am a good friend to Ye and an understanding friend to Ye. And I am a good friend to Dennis Prager, Marissa Straight, many other Jewish people that have been amazing to me. But I haven't been vocal in that friendship. And so I want to do that today. I want to say to those individuals who have been out there defending me while I have been silent, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has meant the world to me. I don't want to make a habit, by the way, of defending myself against baseless smears. It's a bad game. But I think right now there is a rare occasion where there are very high tensions between the Black community and the Jewish community. And so I think it's important for me to state the obvious. I, of course, am not anti-Semitic whatsoever. I've never had an anti-Semitic bone in my body. I actually, before I married my husband, almost married a Jewish man. It's not even a thing. I feel stupid even saying that. But I do think it's important to do that because I've made it abundantly clear publicly that I'm standing by Ye as he weathers this tremendous storm. But I also recognize that I need to make it abundantly clear that I'm standing by Dennis Prager as well, and all of my other Jewish friends and supporters who are speaking out for me and who have endured what may have felt like a very heavy silence from me. And so I want to again say thank you to all of you for understanding and knowing that the hurt that is coming from the Black community, which I can speak on, is this feeling that we have all been emotional slaves, this spiritual slavery that Kyrie Irving talked about, feeling like you have to choose between who you actually are and a paycheck, And sometimes we push back on that in the wrong way, right? And I think Ye has been clear that he did that in the wrong way. Sometimes we push back on that in a certain way that is determined to be wrong, like Kyrie. And I hope that in coming to you guys with my heart in this monologue, that I am pushing back on this in the right way. And that's all I will say about that. All right, guys, I want to take a moment to talk to you about the app Hallow. In a world that is currently so divided, I truly believe that faith in God is the answer and truly our only hope. That's why I want to encourage you to download the Hallow app. Hallow is the #1 Christian prayer app in the United States and the #1 Catholic app in the world. It's rooted in the Catholic tradition, but an amazing resource for any Christian that's looking to dive deeper into their prayer life. Hallow has prayers and meditations to guide you throughout your entire day, morning to night. Some of the most popular prayers include the daily rosary, the gospel reading, and daily psalm with Bishop Barron, the Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, minute meditations, meditations for sleep, kids' prayers and meditations, and more. Hallow helps me sleep better, lower my anxiety levels, and find peace and calm throughout the day, and I think that it will do the same for you. Get an exclusive 3-month free trial at hallow.com/Candace. That's hallow.com/Candace. Okay, now it's time for some topics du jour. First up, we have Katy Perry. You know, I have always registered her as somebody on the far left, but I think that things are getting so crazy out there that even people that are on the left are starting to move and realize that if they want to be able to live and work and enjoy, most importantly, the places that they love, they are going to have to start voting Republican. And Katy Perry has done just that. Not only is it shocking that she voted Republican, she voted for Republican Mayor Rick Caruso in Los Angeles, but even more shocking is that she posted it to her many followers on Instagram. So she posted this on Instagram with the caption, "I am voting for a myriad of reasons, see the news, but in particular because Los Angeles is a hot mess. Hashtag let's go Caruso, hashtag yes to Measure 28, hashtag yes to Measure 1, hashtag do you, but just use your vote, okay." Now, we do know that she's telling the truth. There are a myriad of reasons that you should vote for a Republican governor, or a Republican mayor. Particularly if you love Los Angeles and you are seeing that it's becoming a drug den and that it is now appealing to criminals, and you're seeing that people are fleeing. They're quite literally fleeing Los Angeles. No better example, by the way, than the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire used to be in Los Angeles, and they uprooted all of their employees and they came here to the great, deeply red state of Tennessee. And I think, by the way, Katy Perry, it's very brave that you have done this. That actually might be the name of one of your songs. Maybe that's Sarah Bareilles. I know the songs sound alike. But I think it's incredibly brave that you have posted this. So I do want to just shout you out and remind everybody watching that you should be voting today. If you have not yet voted, then you can still vote. Go vote. Make sure you stay in line. Stay in line for the next month. Because obviously, as we are learning, it takes months to count the votes in a totally free and fair election. I don't know why we were able to always count them same day for years until recently, but yeah, stay in line for a month. Your vote will still be counted. All right, guys, moving on to the inevitable. There is a Norwegian man who now identifies as a disabled woman, and he uses a wheelchair almost all the time. Now, I should be clear that this man who now identifies as a woman is also able-bodied. He does not have anything wrong with his body at all, but that is not stopping him from getting himself around in a wheelchair and telling people that he self-identifies as somebody who is paralyzed. So on October 28th, Good Morning Norway aired an interview with Jorund Victoria Alme, 53-year-old able-bodied male who now identifies as a disabled woman. And in the interview, he stated that he had always wished that he had been born a woman who was paralyzed from the waist down. Despite having no physical handicaps, he currently utilizes a wheelchair almost all the time. So, in addition to having gender dysphoria, which is a mental illness and should be characterized as such, he also claims to have body integrity disorder, right? And he cites a dissonance between how he perceives himself and how his body functions. This is a quote from him. He said, "I have struggled with this every day my whole life. It is a cognitive dissonance in the same way that I experienced being a woman in a man's body. I experienced that I should have been paralyzed from the waist down. This is not a desire to be a burden on society. It is about the wheelchair being an aid for me to function in everyday life, both privately and at work." I just want to give a little applause here and say bravo, because actually, I like this story so much because this individual is telling the truth. I personally like the sentence, "This is the same way that I experienced being a woman in a man's body. I experienced that I should have been paralyzed from the waist down." It is the same way. Both of these things are mental illnesses, and they must be addressed as such. Obviously, there is something happening in your brain where you are not thinking clearly, and you need to get psychological help. You don't need a society aiding you on. You don't need a society that is telling you that, yes, you are in fact paralyzed. It's just, able-bodiedness is a gender construct. Able-bodiedness is a social construct, whatever it is that these idiots are saying today. And I think that I like this, and I hope that more people start to claim to have body integrity disorder. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's going to take something like this, right, for people to understand the slippery slope of not acknowledging reality. Right? So if we're going to say that a man can say that he's a woman, okay, then we should also say that, of course, an able-bodied person can say that they're paralyzed. And if they can say they're paralyzed, why aren't they getting wheelchair access? Does that mean that they should be able to stand in the DMV and get things changed so that they can actually identify as somebody who's paralyzed? Does that mean that they should be able to park in the handicap spaces? Why can't they get a handicap sign for their car? These are very important questions. And the only way that society is going to start asking them and trying to draw distinctions between one mental disorder and the other is if people like this start becoming more extreme. This might be the only answer to the crazy problem that we have right now in society, where we have a bunch of people that are trying to legitimatize mental illness. All right, guys, the holiday season is upon us, and I am so excited. It is my favorite time of year, and I especially look forward to all of the cooking and the baking. A few of my favorite dishes are a baked macaroni and cheese dish that comes from my grandmother, as well as a roast beef. And this year, when it comes to the meat, I'll be cooking with, you guys already know, Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers truly has the best quality meat, and they deliver it right to your door, making holiday prep so easy and stress-free. You all see meat prices rising every time you go to the grocery store. To combat this and help you save as much as possible this holiday season, Good Ranchers is bringing you their best offer yet. When you order from goodranchers.com/Candace and use my code Candace, you'll get 2 Black Angus New York strip steaks free with your order. These are 2 12-ounce steakhouse quality cuts, a $70 value. Go to goodranchers.com/Candace and use code Candace at checkout, but hurry because this offer will end on November 30th. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Okay, guys, so life is pretty dark out there, and I don't really know how to present this story to you other than to read it to you directly. I'm laughing, but I want you to know that on the inside, I am actually crying because there has been a killer virtual reality headset created. And by killer, I mean not like colloquialism killer. I mean like, no, it will kill you. Imagine a VR headset that will actually kill you. So this is the article which appeared in the New York Post. The first ever killer virtual reality headset is here. Palmer Luckey, a leader in virtual reality and the founder of Oculus, better known now as a part of Facebook's Meta, created a VR headset that will actually kill the user if they die in the game, Vice's Motherboard reported. Players put on a Neve Gear virtual reality headset and open the new game, which is called Sword Art Online, which is based on the Japanese anime and novel of the same name. The players must fight their way through a 100-floor dungeon to escape a mad scientist's virtual world. The device is connected to 3 explosive charge modules above the screen that are aimed at the player's forehead. Should the player die in the game, the microwave emitter would go off, obliterating the human's head. Luckey, who also founded Anduril, a weapons and defense contractor that has won large contracts with the government, said the explosive charges on the headset are ones he usually uses in different projects, although he did not specify which ones, of course, because those are going to be with the government. Quote, when an appropriate game over screen is displayed, the charges fire instantly, destroying the brain of the user, Luckey wrote on his blog on Monday. According to Luckey, the device's creator was able to hide from his employees, regulators, and contract manufacturing partners. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I couldn't come up with any way to make anything like this work, not without attaching the headset to gigantic pieces of equipment. But you guys, don't worry, this article also says, because the headset is not available to buy. Okay, you won't be worried that, I guess, if it's not available to buy. I don't know why, but I'm still feeling pretty worried. I don't know why this still feels very wrong and dystopian to me. And I could just see kids and teenagers and mentally ill adults that are chasing a never-ending high wanting to engage in this. I don't know why this feels like an episode of Black Mirror. Oh, I know, because it is. There has been episodes of Black Mirror exploring virtual reality and people giving themselves to that virtual reality and wanting to stay within a virtual reality forever. So why not live and die within a virtual reality? The mind of the individual that created this concerns me. The idea that this individual also has government contracts concerns me. That they won't specify why certain technologies that are used have already been used concerns me. So no, I'm not feeling like I should not worry at all. I think that we need to keep an eye on this space. I keep telling you guys the dangers of virtual reality as it returns to pornography. Now we're talking about a defense system for your head, not a defense, an offense system on your head, which could actually kill you. Let's keep that conversation going. Be very, very concerned, especially if you are a parent. And it's why I'd never want my child to play video games, because I can see the direction in which video games are headed. Okay, I want to take a moment to talk to you guys about ExpressVPN. You know I love this company because they keep my internet data secure. We all know big tech spies on our online activity, but have you ever heard of data brokers? They're the people who are collecting and selling all of your online data. Data brokers stitch together detailed profiles of your online browsing history, then sell that profile to advertisers. And you might be surprised to learn that data brokers also sell your information to the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS. For all of these reasons, I protect my online activity with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making it much more difficult for data brokers to identify who you are and create that profile. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of network data to keep your data safe, even on public Wi-Fi. I have ExpressVPN downloaded on all of my devices, including my home Wi-Fi router. It's very simple to use. All I have to do is click one button to turn it on. Protect your online activity with the best VPN money can buy. Visit expressvpn.com/Candace and get 3 extra months free. But you can only get it through my special link. That's expressvpn.com/Candace. expressvpn.com/Candace to learn more. All right, guys, fun time. I'm going to jump into the comments like Brett Cooper. And I love doing this, by the way. It's great. One thing that I loved was yesterday on the show, I dropped a little silent bomb. You know, I talked about the letter Q, and the comments were really funny, listening to people grapple with this conversation I have with my husband. One commenter said, Candace definitely was high. I was not high. I don't smoke pot. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I was just on a walk with my husband with our 2 kids, and I needed to share my heart with him. And my heart told me that the letter Q is redundant. All I do, guys, is tell the truth. Like I had to bring you this because it's been bothering me, and I felt encouraged to say it to him that day, and I felt encouraged to tell you yesterday that Q is an unnecessary letter. There's no word that you cannot create that begins with the letter Q. You don't need the Q, right? Quick. You could just spell it Kwik. Somebody in the comments said to me, oh, well, then you could say the same thing about C. You don't need C. You just need a K. And I said, no. I want to answer that. You do still need C. You cannot spell a word like chat without a C. You cannot spell a word like cheetah without a C. A K is not going to cover that. K doesn't make the sound like a C does in a different way, right? It doesn't, you're not going to get ch with a K. So C is a necessary letter. K is a necessary letter. W is a necessary level. And usually most times in scenarios where you have a Q, you either just need the K or you need the KW. It was somebody that was very dumb who helped create the alphabet who came up with the letter Q. That's all I'm saying. And I do believe, as I told my husband on this walk, that this may very well be my hill to die on. This may very well be it. Bury me here, spread my ashes right here on this hill. So this comment came from Nasifo. Nasifo writes, LOL, I know this wasn't the topic of the day, but the letter Q may be redundant in the English language, but it's essential in my language. It's pronounced, your language, I'm going to try to say this right, isiXhosa, right? One of the official languages of South Africa. You cannot make certain clicks without the letter Q, so yeah, it's important. I don't disagree with that. I'm speaking particularly about the English language. We do not need the Q. Like I know that you need it in Spanish, you might need it in other languages, you might need it in a South African language, but you don't need it in English. It's a bad thing that's happened, and I have to take a stand. Another comment regarding Kyrie Irving came from Paul Eller. It says, if Kyrie did not agree with everything in a documentary, why did he put that documentary out in the first place? Why did he not just not post it? Normally, if you post something, that means that you agree with everything in the documentary. So now he is blamed for all the documentary content. That is absolutely not true. It's absolutely not true that if you post something, it means that you agree with every single word of the content. I mean, you might post me having done the documentary, the smash hit documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, and you may disagree with one portion of it. You're just saying food for thought. Like sometimes when you watch something and it gets you thinking, and I saw a lot of people in Black America, I'm grateful, that had fallen for the BLM narrative and then saw my documentary and were like, this is giving me a different version of events. You know, I think some of what Candace is saying is true, some of it's wrong. It allows us to think. It allows us to at least think about topics, you know? And as I said yesterday, I understand why certain people may have been upset. But the idea that Kyrie Irving agrees with everything in a documentary, that we have to agree if we share a show. I just, in this episode, shared something from SNL. I don't even like SNL. Do I now have to co-sign with every single thing SNL has ever said and done? No. I presented it to you because I wanted to talk about that as a topic. And I told you, I like what they're saying about COVID here, but I disagree with their timing on it. Conversations happen when we share and when we communicate and when we debate certain topics. And Kyrie Irving is not exempt from being able to do that as well, just because he plays basketball. Next comment is from Haley Spurbeck. She writes, the way they are going after Kyrie and Kanye is insane. Thank you, Candace, for continuing to back them up and not letting it go. This is crazy. My daughter came home from school yesterday and said one of her teachers told her Kyrie was anti-Semitic, and they were really mad. She's a child. She doesn't even know what is happening. My husband and I are going up there, but it's time to figure out homeschooling. Wow. Totally insane that this would ever make its way into a classroom. And that just goes to show you that people are rash and they are emotional and they enter judgment very quickly and they are in lockstep with whatever the media message is of the day. I do not believe that Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic, and I will say that over and over and over again, least of all because he shared a documentary link. And he plainly said, I am not anti-Semitic when he gave a press conference. And so the idea that a teacher was feeling so, fired up by what she read in the media that she offered that opinion to a child is really wrong. You are right to be concerned about that. You are right to go into school and discuss that. And I just want to express that 1,000 times, that this is the reason why I do believe in homeschooling, is because a lot of time what we have going on in these classrooms is that these teachers are immature. They're emotionally immature babies, right? They are impacted by the moment. They're no different in terms of their emotional and spiritual growth as your child that's in the classroom with them. And I know it can be hard to rise above the moment and to realize that it's just a moment, but it's really important that all of us make an effort to do that. Another comment regarding my interview with MIA, the rapper. If you have not seen that, by the way, guys, please go find it in its entirety on YouTube. It was an incredible discussion. What a beautiful soul and a beautiful spirit who has gone through a lot and is going through a lot. As somebody who has, as I said earlier, been told that, hey, we will make you even richer, but you just got to shut up. We will make you even richer, but you just have to have this stance. It is so encouraging when you come across an artist who doesn't do that, an artist that doesn't back down, and who basically says that the money does not mean that to me. MIA is just that. She goes by Maya in real life, and Rashini saw the interview and has this to say. She says, I'm a Sri Lankan person. It does pain me what happened here with regard to the civil war and politics. Goes to show how conflict is a good thing for politicians and how the unwillingness to communicate and treat people as individuals, regardless of their race or culture, can really escalate disputes. That is so true. Again, Maya talks about in our conversation what it was like for her when she just wanted to talk about her childhood. Like she actually lived through that Civil War. And basically when she got to Hollywood, they said to her, you got to shut up. You're not allowed to say that because the political machine has decided that you're a terrorist sympathizer. I mean, that is so horrific to imagine that you can't talk about your own life. So again, go watch that. Another comment from BC Rat. She writes, if that's the hill she wants to die on, cool. Beyonce is a Black American artist, and she's going to advocate for things that impact her and the country she's from. There's war everywhere. It's not Beyonce's job to use her platform for what MIA thinks is important. She was a big artist as well and could speak up for her people and whatever is important to her. It's like they're both choosing to ignore the obvious. Who is she to speak on American politics or American racial issues? Anyways, I love Candace's dress and makeup. Okay, so she's talking about a moment in the interview where MIA talks about how she was fined, I think it was $15 million from the Super Bowl for giving the middle finger, which was a middle finger to American politics. And what she was trying to draw attention to, and I think you maybe misunderstood her, was that Beyonce was allowed to get on the Super Bowl stage and basically become a banner for Black Lives Matter, and that was political, and she didn't get fined. And which is worse? Why are these things not being treated the same? You might disagree with that. You might be pro-Beyonce, anti-MIA, but it is worthy of discussion. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to continue reading some of your comments, and I'm also going to answer your questions in the next portion of the show, which is going to be available exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. So if you're not a member yet, go ahead and click the link in the description and subscribe right now.